All right, frost, frosty frost, frost. It's close to almost, I'd say, 28 degrees Celsius where I am right now, so anything but frosty over here in good old Canada. I know, ironic enough, but we found ourselves in another Acer Team Story Cup match. It's the best of 9 between these two teams, and the score is currently 3-2, still in the favor of Mouseports. But having just lost their badass known as Hero Marine, spawning here in the lower right corner of the map, now taking up the mantle of Mouseports, the red Protoss, HasuObs. And his opponent in the upper right, Henri with a little accent over the eye, however you want to see this. It is Complexity Gaming's Blue Zerg player, Hendralisk, who, just worth noting, is representing Complexity Dignitas, the Alliance, here in the Acer Team Story Cup. Now, for those who don't know, Hendralisk comes from a combination of his name, Henry, and his favorite unit, Hydralisk, thus Hendralisk. Really creative, I know. But yes, so that's why we see Henry here on the European server. The admins did ask him to change the name. If you guys recall, yesterday during the Axiom Acer match, we had a same sort of dilemma with Scarlet, where she didn't have an account that matched the name she's known as. They said you could play with it, but you need to fix it by the next cup. The Acer Team Story Cup, I gotta give them mad props on a lot of things, but this more specifically the most. The fact that they actually enforce players to not use barcodes and not use alternate accounts. You can't use a Smurf, you have to be the player you're registered as in order to play. I'm not sure if they penalize people beyond that or not, but yeah, just so you guys know, it's kind of cool that they've gone out of their way to make the viewing experience as good as possible for everybody on your end, guys. So much love to the Acer Team Story Cup. Now, I know a lot of people are coming in late, so you need to get to place your bets early. It's worth noting, though, that there's a lot of Partoofs on the line today. Again, close to 6,000 people, or Partoofs, bet on Mouseports winning this, and a little close to 2K for Complexity Dignitas. Now, it's a little too close for comfort, still at 3-2. It's no one's serious clearly or definitively just yet. But if Mouseports can eke out another victory right now, it'll put them one game away. And HasuObs is a really strong player. It's worth noting as well, we're now playing on a European server. Hendralisk being from the east coast of Canada, though, not going to feel the burn, not going to feel the sting as badly. It's weird to consider, but East Coast actually connects not too poorly with Europe. Not the best, of course, as it's still North America to Europe. There's no getting around that. But we'll see if he goes for anything super micro-intensive or if he'll go for more latent brute force strategies. A lot of people, they read too much into the latency that comes with tournaments and broadcasting, and there's sometimes where it really is a big deal. And I'm talking like Korea to Europe. That is almost unbearable. 2 seconds delay, I've heard some people as high as 3 on good connections. North America to Europe, though, I don't think is that big of a deal. I don't think it's that bad. There is certainly worse out there. Now, for HasuObs, you know, he got to see Hendralisk just kind of come in with this really brute force all-in tactic. And again, if this is a guy who's never seen Hendralisk in his life, maybe he thinks he's cheesy, maybe he thinks he's all-in-y. But if you guys have seen Hendralisk before in the past, he's been streaming a lot recently as well. Just big shout out to him and his Twitch channel, Hendralisk_ here on Twitch TV. He's actually been showing a lot of macro games, a lot of fun commentary as well, and he's certainly not a cheesy player by any means. But Queen's starting to get out here, start spreading some creep. HasuObs did go for a gateway expand, so one thing Hendralisk is going to have to keep on mind is the fact that this could end up being a little bit of aggression towards zone 3rd. It's always a little, I'll say rough. Say rough, big air quotes, trying to decide whether you want to apply pressure or not as a Protoss player. I know there's a lot of jokes that float around with the term all in, and we kind of hoy about it here too on Base Trade TV, but what I do like is when we see either the Forge with a +1 upgrade or just straight up 4 gates off of 2 bases, not necessarily an all in, but a way to shut down a Zerg player's 3rd. As if we're gonna be honest, guys, a lot of the strength of Zerg player come from that 3rd base, if not just through economy, through the extra larva, through the ability to reinforce from different angles. But it's easy to shut it down if done correctly. Now we do have +1 weapons on the way, but this doesn't dictate at all that he could be going aggressive. In fact, if he was using Chronos on it, then this would look a little bit differently. But he is in fact saving energy, so not pumping out those +1s. HasuObs, by the way, it's only just scouted the edge of Hendralisk's base, so it doesn't really know whether there was gas, roaches, Zerglings, what the case may be. The only thing he has seen is a little bit of creep and 2 Zerglings coming across the map. Layer on the way here for Hendralisk too. Sorry, just glancing away for a moment. Getting some more water. if this is going to stick to 2 bases with 4 gases, he could certainly afford to go Mutalisks if he wants to, but 2 base Muta versus Protoss? I mean, it's more of like an anti-Zerg or anti-Terran build, but no, we got +1 range weapons on the way, so might just end up being for roaches. It's worth noting, Hendralisk is a very versatile player for those who don't know him, and I know I'm talking to him a lot. I should talk about Mouseports or HasuObs a little bit, but the reason I bring this up is because Hendralisk is a player who's willing to do swarm hosts. It sounds silly because we've seen Stefano, we've seen the Clash, and we laugh and we're like, these units are so dumb and broken, they might as well just auto-win you the game, but I'm thinking this is going to be for swarm hosts. I mean, he's got the infestation pit on the way. There's no reason to go for a fast hive with ranged weapon upgrades. I mean, if you were thinking Ultralisks or something along those manners, maybe that's a little bit different, but I'm imagining this is going to be for slightly quicker swarm hosts. And for HasuObs, that's not going to be too pleasing to find, because it's not a strategy that I think any Protoss player loves coming up against. Oh, sorry, for those who... Sorry, I just glanced over at chat for a second there. For those who misunderstood, we'll be doing a game raffle away. The game is for Steam. It's BioShock Infinite. It'll be at the end of the broadcast. Not the end of this game, the end of the broadcast. Sorry if there was some confusion about that. But this is going to be... This is a fake hive? Why would you go real hive with this? It is a fake hive! That is so cool! So Hendra's going to fake out a hive. It looks like he's rushing towards something weird. But where's the Nidus Swarm coming down? Was that revealed? Hang on, this is really important if you saw it or not. No, he didn't. So, this is something that could either be really cheesy, it could just be simply for the front lines. But what's kind of key and worth noting, guys, look at HasuObs' base. We see Blink on the way. We see Gateways up. We see Twilight Council and +2 weapons. But where's the Robo? There's no detection. Now, it's not like, oh my god, he's never going to make detection, but this Nidus Swarm is certainly going to catch him off guard initially. This is going to carry the Swarm host right across the map, right outside his front door. And let's not forget, if this gets out of hand, it's always very possible that this becomes an Overseer, flies towards the main, bam, Bob's your uncle, and Nidus Swarm comes down here in the south or something. Sorry, I always feel inclined to do my best Nidus Swarm impersonation. But coming across the map, he's going to throw down some Spore Crawlers too, I think, with these drones. This wasn't an accident. This is probably intentional. This will feature as a combination detection as well as maybe a Spine Crawler or two. So this is, if we're going to be honest, guys, this is a build I do when I'm doing like random and feeling cheesy. And this is like at a low league. Hendralisk is going to make this work at a high league, which I think is really cool. Now, granted, this wasn't in-base Swarm host, so this isn't like an automatic win or anything like that. But this is going to be very annoying. HasuObs is going to have to expend a lot of force fields to keep these at the ramp and not coming forward. But this is kind of a waste because there's only 2 Swarm hosts here moving forward. The rest are sitting and heading towards that 3rd base. Sitting there all primed and ready for a bit of damage. And as he bounces back and forth between the 2, again, one of the downsides to not having that Robo, well, he's got it now, but the Observer's on the way. Colossus are going to be so far away from this. Blink Stalkers could normally deal with this if there weren't like 9 Queens on the front lines, who are all here not just for creep spread, but more importantly, transfuses. The Swarm is stopping a little bit shy of going into the actual base. I mean, okay, so these haven't done a lot of damage yet, but he's not done producing them. He's taking a third while this is going on, and a pylon was created behind this, but Hendralisk already has seen this. He's going to have to clean this up, because the biggest threat with Swarm hosts, of course, is you leave your base defenseless. You can't exactly stick in a bunch of Swarm hosts, take them home, and be immediately good to go. However, looks like the Overseer going to get sniped off. Never mind, Transfuse is going to go down to keep everything here alive. He did pick off the Observer thanks to the detection afforded through a combination of Spore Crawler and Overseer. And these Queens, it looks like a joke, guys. It really does. But these Queens are a really critical part of this. Transfuses are everything when it comes to keeping these back, and they're the anti-air to snipe off the Observers. But this is so awkward. We do have those Zealots coming for the attack, and again, back at home, there's nothing really here to defend. A couple Swarm Hosts and a Queen have been loaded back in for the defense, but yeah, the Spine Crawler should be able to help take care of this as well. War Prisms is sadly not going to get taken care of anytime too soon, and if Hendralisk over-evacuates, yeah, he's brought a lot of Queens back home. This may open the opportunity for that Observer to go forward once again and perhaps blink on top of the Swarm Host to try and take out the what is going on. Main base being dropped with, again, a huge warp, and I really like this move out of HasuObs. I think this is a very intelligent way to deal with this. War Prisms have always been the best answer to Swarm Hosts, as well as Blink Stalkers moving forward. Once again, a couple Force Fields to pick off a couple of the Queens. Spore Crawlers are going to be picked off, and he moves on past through this. Hendralisk, though, doesn't have to dedicate to Swarm Hosts. I mean, again, this is something kind of cheesy, but it's more of a contained method than anything else. Does lose the Infestation Pit, so he will not be able to make any more Swarm Hosts, sadly, and will not transition into Hive Tech either. Queen needs to be transfused. No transfuse going down as these Stalkers have completely cut him off guard here in the middle of the map. A really cool strategy being implemented, but it's one that's appearing to be just... I think a lesser player may have fallen to it, but Hendralisk did not get a lesser player. He came against HasuObs, one of the better Protoss players on the team. Well, they're actually going back into the Nidus network. Say, you know what? Abandoned ship. Let's just go put it all on the line. Of course, if he loses this Nidus worm, he can't go back home. Well, he can't go back home already. He starts to unload some queens, building another Nidus to try and re-evacuate. But no matter how many times he transfused to this spine crawler, these stalkers have got enough to keep pushing. And the whole army's actually coming across now too, with some observers as well. Third base was killed, granted. But as far as the base trade scenario goes, Hendralisk needs to be at home, and he knows this is why he's trying to get everything into the Nidus Swarm to try and send them back home. But spy cars are coming down, and one swarm host was holding the line for a little bit. Now the observers are here. That's going to change. Drones are pulled into this, and this was a really weird move out of Hendralisk, but again, this is one that makes sense for a situation where you can't micro heavily, can't micro intensely. Are there buildings over here? This is Nidus Swarm. Does it count as a building? Like, can he bring this? Like, I don't actually know. I was going to say, like, I don't know if this ends the game for him or not. But spending transfuses on this swarm host just to buy a little bit of time. We do have some more spine crawlers up, but these swarm hosts need to come home to defend. There we go, now getting into the Nidus worm. Gonna start unloading some of these. It's very important that he doesn't lose this though. He loses any possibility to go back home because he's not gonna be able to transfuse this like he has everything else. The drone count has dwindled quite heavily behind this, and HasuObs' loss is natural. So both players have beaten each other to a pulp, very literally. The mothership core being picked off was pretty huge. This means that there's not gonna be any option to recall out of this, but I think the spines of the swarm hosts are gonna hold. Both players beaten back to one base, but the difference is Hendralisk is still applying a mild amount of pressure. I wish you would pick off the Robo. I think that'd be probably the best way to finish that off. But the coup de grace, if you will. More spine cars coming down, and more going to be repositioned here as he goes back across the map to the other side, brings the swarm host back to the front line. Again, this Nidus Swarm, but that instantaneous transfer is going to be so irritating to deal with. Now, the nice thing for HasuObs is he can hold on one base all day. He can force fill this ramp indefinitely and keep swarm hosts from ever coming up that ramp. But you're not going to win a game off one base. The longer you choke yourself on one base, the better chance Hendralisk has to actually win this game. This was looking really scary. I thought HasuObs was going to win this. He sneaks out of base, by the way, worth noting. Sneaks into the lower left. That Nidus Swarm is picked off, but do keep in mind, guys, it's only 100 gas and only 100 minerals to build another. So, while I don't think he needs to transfer anything else to the front line for the time being, he does need to make sure he doesn't die to these stalkers. But another Nidus Swarm is going to come down. And there are DTs in the front lines. There, however, is an Overseer and still a Spore Crawler, so this shouldn't be too problematic. This is so stupid to watch. Again, I don't think this is about bringing units to the front line nearly as much as it is about taking units back home. He will focus down the Robo. Unfortunately, the DT will not run. No, never mind. Actually, will taken out by those locusts. One more swipe would have killed the worm, but look at a blink up here to the high ground. There's not a lot of locusts up here. There's not a lot of swarm hosts up here. There's no defense in the main, but one spine crawler. And Hendralisk, who was on one base, is going to be locked back onto one base. Now, both players on two. A transfuse on a locust. What? I guess. Do what you gotta do. More drones die though, and if Hendralisk thinks he's locked his opponent to one base, he will lose this game to an underestimation. He's got no lings on the map to scout, but he would have to know, like, if HasuObs is still building units, you know, where's that economy coming from? You have to predict the main's pretty much mined out at this point. It will be mined out in a moment's time here. But more importantly than that, you know, these extra bases need to be revealed in a few moments. In probably like 5 or 6 minutes, Hendralisk might clue in, but not before then. Anyway, swarm hosts here on the defensive are still sending locusts out wave after wave to try and pick off these stalkers. However, between Blink and Micro, he's just not able to do it. There is an observer still at home. If you pick that off, these swarm hosts become safe. He's got to see that. Somebody doesn't see that. He sees the observer. But his focus and attention is elsewhere on the map. Again, locked into one base with no economy. HasuObs is going to slowly try and build probes elsewhere. He's got 1,000 minerals to work with. But this is less of a base trade and more like a base swap, I guess. He's... I imagine his best bet at this point is to try and make this base his new main. Expand backwards, so to speak. Now, stalkers are coming forward, and there's not a lot of anti-air for detection. But these locusts are going to pop just at the right time, and he's going to take on these stalkers in full force. One falls very quickly. Natural base still alive. Main base still alive, and HasuObs has no power. You know, there's that meme with that old guy from Lord of the Rings, like, ha ha ha, you have no power here. I kind of just can't help but feel like that's what Hendralisk is doing to HasuObs, because he's got so many stalkers, they got Blink, they're going to try and do damage where and when they can, but quite frankly, the small and the meager defense that Hendralisk has is enough to really hold. Yeah, Locusts on the front lines, no observers in sight. Locusts are in the main as well, still rallied up here to make sure that if a Blink comes, which it is, it will be dealt with. So Locusts on the low ground, Locusts on the high ground, and again, with enough sentries, HasuObs will indefinitely force field this off, but you can't win this game on one base. That's the bottom line. You know what? Hendralisk just needs to build an Ultralisk, by the way. I'm just so decided, like, he doesn't have Hive Tech, But if he built an Ultralisk, he could break the force field and just storm up that ramp with all the locusts. Hell, if he could maybe get a swarm host in or something else, I don't know. But yeah, these locusts are gonna get nothing done for the time being, and he still isn't aware of these bottom bases. Now, what HasuObs was doing there for a while, if you guys noticed, was he was banking up minerals. It was very important, whether there was accident or on purpose. It was very important. He did not reveal to Hendralisk. Oh, cool. The Underground Railroad currently going on over here. Shipping these refugees over to the other side of the map. If Hendralisk saw like 19 sentries and like 20 zealots and a couple archons in the main, then he knows there's income coming elsewhere. But his opponent's on one base. He didn't mind much out of the natural. And I think this is what's going to cost Hendralisk the game. Honest to God. I mean, this base, these two bases, Hendralisk thinks he's boxed his opponent in. And it's so easy to tunnel vision, because again, there's no reason for him to look around the map. HasuObs isn't building a ton of new units, and he hasn't done anything suspicious. Sorry, just trying to help someone out there. This is so weird. I mean, I really like what Hendralisk did, but again, delaying Hive Tech, he's just getting more and more Swarm Hosts out, but even Swarm Hosts won't be the answer to this game. Once Colossus finally start coming out, he'll be able to beat back the Locust Waves. Now, granted, it's going to be a long time before we see Colossus out, but it's something that's going to be necessary coming forward. This is so dumb. These force fields are getting like more and more shallow every time, and HasuObs knows it. Still trying to be very proactive on the other side of the map with the Stalkers. Big props to him for not just sitting back and you know, kind of AFKing through this, but this doesn't get easier from here. Even with these two bases up and running, even with the potential Colossus on the horizon, yeah, he just doesn't have a lot of money right now. I wish he'd take the assimilators here. I think a big reason he's not is because he's scared. He doesn't know whether it's safe or not. But oh, Hendralisk realizes what's up. He finds one of the bases, not realizing there's another right here. A Nidus Worm is coming down, and Swarm Host will be on this half of the map shortly. And yeah, the Stalker's still just bouncing between the south and the north. You know, there's Locusts on one end, Locusts on the other. Nidus Worm now revealed on the other side of the map. And while there's a couple DTs coming in, oh, there's actually no detection here. Some Spore Crawlers may end up getting made, but not before some bases will go down. That's for sure. All right, so he's gonna focus on the Nidus Worm. Nice tactic. But the Locusts are moving in to two different bases. The Nexus is being focused down. It should probably die. Back at home again, he can't. He should put a hatchery. I didn't catch that. But HasuObs can't let up on this. The second he lets a force field down, that's when Locusts compromise the main. But a lot of these Swarm Hosts have gone down, and a lot of the Locusts have died thanks to the. Whoa! Actually. Oh, shout out to that Spore Core. I guess the Mothership Core gonna stop Time Warps from ever coming down again, but he knocks down one of the Nexuses. Nexine? It's Nexuses, I'm pretty sure. Fuck English. Either way, the Spore Core are gonna go down. Not that it really matters. More Dark Templar warped in, so it actually will matter. The Locusts and the Swarm Hosts have nothing to stop them, but due to the overproduction, and I say this in air quotes, the overproduction of Swarm Hosts earlier, Hendralisk has a lot more to play with. And again, I'm just screaming like, dude, go on Hive Tech, make an Ultralisk, and break those freaking force fields. Because this is the only unit a Zerg player has that can. Maybe Mutalisks, maybe something else, but very, very much so, this game could still go either way, guys. It's like, you've heard the phrase balanced on a knife's edge, and like this is the best way I can describe it, because Hendralisk, he's not massively far ahead by any means. No stretch of the imagination is he in a situation where he auto wins. HasuObs is definitely the one who has to make it work. Like, he has to be the one who tries to win a lot harder than Hendralisk, I guess, as far as effort goes. But for the most part, this is for Hendralisk to just kind of turtle up, and this will only work so long. Again, expanding backwards, making this his new main. And Hendralisk knows about this. It's not like he's ignored it accidentally. He's just focused on trying to get up the main instead. But still, like, the infinite force field effect is coming into play. This is killing me! Dude, Hendralisk, make one freaking Ultralisk! Please, God, break this and kill everything here. But quite frankly, while the focus is on this base at this point, it's not about killing HasuObs so much as it is establishing his own base. It sounds dumb because he's not losing his own base, but he is trading bases effectively, trying to take the lower right corner of the map as a safety because that's where the focus of his units are. But you know what? He finds a way. He finds a way. The Spine Crawler reaches past this and can hit the the Cyber Core. The Overseer can move over and it can hit the Dark Shrine as well, which might be a lot better. Another Nidus Worm comes out. He's going to start re-sieging that base down here in the bottom left. This time a little bit better and not so ballsy on the front line. HasuObs has a pretty good army supply now, though, up to 73. And let's not forget there's Dark Templar in this mix, not just Stalkers. But Stalkers will certainly get the job done. Blinks away to disengage from the Locusts. If they could blink past them. Like, this is what's unfortunate. Like, I almost feel the best case scenario for HasuObs right now, guys, and hear me out, this sounds so stupid. Bring the Mothership Core here. Warp all those sentries out of the main. Give up the main. There's nothing here you need to hold on to. Recall every single one of these units back across the map, and then use the force fields to push back the Locusts and the Blink Stalkers to blink past them onto the Swarm Hosts. And I think that alone might just be what it takes to cripple Hendralisk. But unfortunately, that's not what's happening, and both of these players are in this really awkward situation where they're kind of forced to tunnel vision. They're forced to be panicked. Again, this could go either way. Hendralisk might have 3 bases, and this game might look really good for him, but it's not at all a safety. It's not at all a security. And where did that new Night Storm come down? Okay, middle of the map. DTs are on top of this, though. HasuObs, damn, so quick. Hendralisk needs more Overseers. I think that's got to be a point he's recognized at this point as well. There's been so many DTs that have been shutting him down, more so than anything else. But still trying to batter his way up this ramp, force fielding indefinitely. Like, you guys have to understand, while HasuObs is doing a million other things right now trying to survive, he has to keep coming back to this base and dropping force fields again and again and again and again. And the second he misses one is the second that every single Locust gets up to the main and starts picking units off. But another Night Storm comes down, and Locusts are pushing into these Stalkers. This is... You know what? We've seen a lot of Locust Swarm Host game, guys, and we all roll our eyes because we know how they go. But this is not by any stretch of the imagination how this typically goes. Now an Overseers here, and we got some Spore Crawlers coming down for detection. But still, to Hendralisk, I scoff at you, and I might love Hendralisk as a player, but I hate him right now. Because again, he's not making that Ultralisk. You gotta consider, he's been at this for almost 20 minutes. Same kind of goes for HasuObs. Like, he's not starting to get Colossus tech up. He's got this really nice base. He's got some decent economy going, but we don't see a Robo in sight. If he plans to win the game with just Blink Stalkers, don't get me wrong, that's actually incredibly possible, albeit least likely of all the options. Unfortunately, the Night Storm comes down and only gets 3 new Locusts or Swarm Hosts out. The one Spine Car helping chip away at this, and even drones being pulled into it. This breaks the line, and the Sentry says, screw it, let's come out of hiding. Hendralisk actually not in a position to immediately lose this game, but he's throwing away so much for this. You guys have to consider, this was his only mining base. He doesn't have the minerals to build another hatchery, to reestablish a new third on this half of the map. He is broke as broke gets. And he may have been broken in the process. 23 drones died, leaving him with only 14. The last couple Swarm Hosts over here are going to go down. But he's got all these Swarm Hosts. And quite frankly, now that there's an Overseer here, the Dark Templar won't be able to shut these down quite so easily. No, he goes down immediately. There's some cannons to buy some time. 2 more Nexus being placed down here in the top left. We are... Is this merry-go-round? Because he's just rotating around the map. He even warp prismed out some probes. Abandoned ship! You know what? Have you guys ever played the StarCraft 2 custom map, Cat and Mouse? That's what this feels like, you know? When you're the mouse building 500 pylons to keep the cat from breaking through the wall. It's a terrible analogy for those who never played the custom mode of StarCraft 2, but it's the best I've got. Now, unfortunately, this Night Storm will go down, and once more, Hendralisk is he even long-distance mining? I don't think he is. No, where the fuck are his drones? Pardon me. They're AFK at his base mining gas. So he's not looking to get an expansion out at this point. I think for Hendralisk, he knows that it's pretty much come down to, like, he's got to win the game straight up. But I don't know if he can do this with Swarm Hosts. Again, the Stalkers, as we see, they'll pick off a Swarm Host and then disengage after just losing shields. And that's what makes the control from HasuObs so good. I've been yearning and moaning and crying about sorry, Colossus, my brain's dying at this point. But what's curious is that he's actually going to do this with the Blink Stalkers. And I got to give him mad props for this. All these Stalkers, by the way, seriously have like 9, 10, 8, 5 kills. And some of the new ones are 0, of course. But look at a push through Hendralisk's base. He has 2 workers remaining. He's got nothing left going for him. Probes, unfortunately, went across the map to transfer and came back home. What? He just died. These Spore Crawlers need to be uprooted. If he keeps these Spore Crawlers alive with his Swarm Host, the Blink Stalkers granted can try and dive through this, but these are going to be his last buildings, guys. You know, the same way a Terran player lifts off a command center and floats it with the army, the same logic is going to be applied here with the Spore Crawlers, and Hendralisk is going to lose his base. Bottom line, force fields are too good. This was, again, one of those things I was saying, like, he really needed to get involved, but this is such a weird way to lose the game. Alright, this base is dead, but he doesn't Does he know? No, Hendralisk doesn't know. He might be thinking this is the ultimate base trade. You know, the Locust and Swarm Host down here would take care of the main, and then he's killing the last few buildings HasuObs has, and this is really desperate and down to the wire, but it's not. HasuObs has bases on the top left. He's got jack shit for production, but he's still got buildings, which is key. These poor spore crawlers. He has to hide them from the blink stalkers. Because they're armored buildings. Stalkers can blink forward and focus them down so quickly. Let's not forget about DTs as well. In fact, a couple were warped in here to the main. There is an observer with us though. Just not in range of the Locust, sadly. And now Hendralisk has got to start looking. He's got to start searching. He has no idea which way to go, but he's going to guess. As he heads up to the top left, and it's going to be a pretty darn good guess. But the last few buildings of Hendralisk are going down, and is there a single drone? There's a couple drones. Where are they at? Hiding. Oh, they're all up here though, so he can't sneak in. Like, he's got 100 minerals. He could sneak in 4 extractors, technically. But he's coming back home with these swarm hosts, and I feel like that is going to be a mistake, because this army might not be that big, but there's no way for him to kill it. Force fields again all day on the ramp. Mothership Core could eventually recall this entire army away, and he certainly, Hendralisk may think like, haha, I have trapped my opponent, but that is not the case in the slightest. Now these 3 spore crawlers, guys, hidden, are Hendralisk lifeline. He this is he could win this game. Don't get me wrong. Hendralisk has a chance to win this still. He's not 100% down and out. But his life lies in 3 spore crawlers that are pretty badly injured. That are all in the same portion of the map. Oh, the Locust Wave not going to come out in time. And he's slowly going to bleed off 1 swarm host at a time. And you know what? If HasuObs has to do this 1 swarm host at a time, he will. Top left corner of the map. A lot of gateways. Hasn't made warp tech because well, I don't know why. He's got a pretty good bank. He could certainly do that. Gonna try and catch a couple of the stalkers here in the middle of the map, but we all know that that's not gonna happen. Even if he's unburrowed, by the way, by the time they get to the bottom left, they will not get there in time to stop the blink stalkers, and that's got to be going through Hendralisk's mind. Bottom right looks like it is finally cleaning everything up here slowly but surely. And HasuObs is looking for a hatchery, but he's not gonna find one. The base is being revealed, and for those who don't know, like, there's gonna be, oh, I guess it doesn't show in the observer UI. There's a little message thing up here, like, your opponent's being revealed, but because these aren't burrowed, they don't show up on the map. This is so stupid. Mothership Core realizes there is no anti-air, and an official clock has actually been started. This Mothership Core will kill every single swarm host that Hendralisk has. Force fields go down to keep the Locusts out, and ladies and gentlemen, I think HasuObs has done it. I believe HasuObs has just locked down this game, recognizing that there's no anti-air. The one Mothership Core, with perhaps the worst DPS in his current standing army, is what is going to win him this game. It's not the Dark Templar. It's not the Blink Stalkers. GG, well played is called. HasuObs, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone takes a clap. Everyone give that man a round of applause. You know, I told this story last series about how I went out of my way to buy this guy a beer, and it's games like that that are why I did that. But it's not.